Hello, everyone. We're back for another post-match live stream. Kind of wanted to do this one a little bit sooner than usual, considering the feelings I know that probably everyone has regarding this match. As always, I'm Chris. You can find if you want to follow me on Twitter, that's my handle right there. And of course, as always, I'm joined with Irish Tommy.
Hey, how you doing, Chris?
Well, I would be doing better, but I support West Ham United.
Yeah, it's tough going right now.
It has been for a while, man. It really has. So before we get really into it, I want to go through the starting lineup. Pull it back up here. Here we are. So we start with Randolph and goal again. The only positive thing that one of the only positive things that I've seen this week is Fabianski's back in training. I don't even think Randolph had that bad of a match today, given the crap that he had to deal with. We played flat back four with Zabaleta, Balbuena, Diop, and Cresswell. Sanchez, Rice in the middle, Fornals, Lanzini on the wings, Ayeti and Allaire up front. Fun fact, actually, Tommy, I was watching ESPN Plus, the ESPN Plus stream, and when they showed the lineup at first, they had Lanzini up top with Allaire and Ayeti out on the left. So I don't know if that was by design or if that was a failure on someone or one of the media department, but it's whatever. But I want to ask you this. Did anyone have a good game, including the subs?
Not really, no. Nothing that would stand out. There was no standout. It was really excellent today. It was all just very ponderous. The passes we misplaced, and it was right from the beginning. I mean, the only time we really give West Brom any issues at all was the final 20 minutes when they were down to 10 men and they decided to just get everyone back and try and hang on for dear life to their 1-0 win. That was the only time we were able to put any pressure on their goal. And as I say, it was only because they decided, being down to 10 men, they were just going to and defend a 1-0 lead. Had they still 11 players on the field, they probably would have seen the game out comfortably. So it was just another all-round terrible performance from our players. And if anyone was in any doubt, before today, that we are absolutely relegation candidates, we were playing a championship team there today, and they were better than us. And we against them were really poor. So we were in trouble.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was thinking of too. I mean, that was a relatively weak team for West Brom, comparatively speaking, and they are like at the very top of the championship. Obviously, if we go down, we're losing Allaire, we're losing Anderson, we're losing our top players. We are going to be stuck there for years to come.
Yeah, I mean, West Brom made 8 changes for today's game. That's not West Brom's promotion pushing team. That's 8 changes is a lot. There's only 11 players in the team, so that was not West Brom's strongest side by any stretch of the imagination, and they still outplayed us. Like you say, if we get relegated, and you have to say that's a strong possibility. I mean, you look at that team today. Even Premier League teams who are down and around us. I mean, who do you think we'd beat? Realistically, who do you think we'll go get 3 points from? It's hard to see us winning a game, and our players don't look like they believe that they can win a game.
The only two that I even saw with some sort of passion on that field today was Ayeti. Seemed like he was trying to play hard. He didn't play incredibly well, but he looked like he was trying to prove that, like, give me a chance. And then the only other player was Antonio. I mean, everyone else seemed like they were just fine with carrying on. And I'm going to give a really potentially hot take. I don't know how you feel about it. I don't know how the general community feels about it. My opinion, Lanzini, who's making $100K a week, is just as bad, if not worse, than Carlos Sanchez.
Yeah, there's no question. He brings nothing to the team, absolutely nothing. I mean, he has the number 10 on his back, and he's collecting the ball 30 yards from goal, turning, and then giving the ball away. I can do that for $5,000 a week if they like. I can do that. I can do what Lanzini's doing for much less.
Yeah.
And I'll cover just as much ground, even in my 40s. He's stealing a living at this point. Lanzini should be wearing a balaclava on the pitch, because it's just robbing us of money at this point. Yeah. $100,000 for what? He's got to go. I mean, I think his contract anyway. I mean, his wages would be cut in half if we get relegated and he stays. But even $50,000 a week is
that's too high for him. And that's the other thing.
It's about 50. Yeah, it would be about $50,000 too much, roughly.
100%.
So
100%.
Yeah. David Moyes has this kind of idea in his head. I don't know where it comes from. He has this idea in his head that Lanzini is going to get back to being the Lanzini he used to be for us before his major injury.
And there's no.
And he seems to be willing to just keep putting him in game after game, giving him 90 minutes game after game, no matter how many times he does nothing. And I'll tell you what, it's a dangerous game to play in our position.
Yeah.
Because we're in trouble, and we need players out there who are contributing.
Yeah.
And at some point you have to say, okay, Lanzini just can't be starting games anymore.
And so for me as well is this previous summer we broke our transfer record to get in Sebastian Haller, and he's not worth 45 million. He is a total flop. He was one of the worst players out there again today. And it's just obviously thing.
Yeah, see, this is the thing with team sports. Lack of confidence it spreads like a virus. And even the very best players can catch it. And you can see it from front to back that the players have no confidence whatsoever. They clearly do not believe they can win games, and that's why you're seeing everything is kind of lethargic. So everything's ponderous and slow. Passes are being misplaced. They're just completely shot.
Yeah,
and that's one of Moyes' biggest problems. Is how do you get them going? How do you get them starting to believe that they can start winning games? Because at the moment there's nothing there. And I know I understand it's difficult for Moyes trying to pick them up, but he's got to find a way to do it. He just has to, because the way things are right now, look, we're out of the cup, beaten at home by a championship team. I mean, we didn't have a shot on target
until the 80th minute.
79th, 80th minute. I think we ended up with about 4 on target in the final 10 minutes. But the keeper was never really troubled by any of them. There was one shot by Rice that he had to dive to his right for, but you'd expect any half-decent keeper to save that. The others were kind of straight at him, didn't bother him. But everything else was just wide all day. And it was, it's just really shocking stuff. And I'm really worried. We're in real trouble.
So I've been looking this week out of curiosity at Premier League relegation odds, like see who the bookies favor right now. We're 4th favorited right now at 3-1, not very far off the bottom 3.
Yeah, and fourth favorite when 3 go down is
that's terrifying.
That's terrifying. Yeah, but look, there's a reason for that. Bookies are not stupid. So they set their odds accordingly, and yeah, I mean, you can't argue with them. Those odds sound about right.
Yeah.
yeah, this is going to go right to the finish, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
I-
and it's a pity because in the position we're in the league, a cup run can actually help you, rather than hinder you. A cup run where you win a game, if we did kind of played quite well today, dispatched West Brom, scored a couple of goals, that can help the spirit around the camp. Make them all feel a little bit better, maybe add a little confidence into things.
yeah,
But when that happens, what we saw today, when you lose a game like that and you play really poorly and it's another defeat and it's to a championship team, it just really exacerbates the kind of mental problems that are in the team. Um, so we're in a hole now, and just as regards the cup, on its own merits, I'm just really disappointed.
yeah,
Really disappointed to be out of the cup. I really wanted us to go on a run potentially in the cup, which you can do if the draws are kind to you. And that's a game that we should be winning. West Brom are a championship team, albeit a very good championship team, but they made 8 changes. You know, um, but at the moment, we just unfortunately we just can't beat anybody.
yeah. Um, So I want to go back. I want to start with the goal that they scored. One of the biggest complaints I had from this match was that goal. And I know a lot of people were slating Randolph for it. If you watch, that ball fell to the defender or to the West Brom player. I can't remember his name right now, but the entire defense just stood there like inviting him for a shot. They didn't try to close him down. They didn't try to close the gap. They didn't try to close the lanes. They're just like, here, have a shot.
Yeah, unfortunately,
It's
that's
just another.
yeah. But again, it's just another one of our problems. I mean, that's all psychological, I think. I mean, I'm sure Moyes would go mad looking at that. He doesn't want them out there standing off, not closing down, not hustling, not getting blocks in, not fighting for 50-50 balls. I mean, I'm sure he demands that. He wants them to be doing all those things. But I think where the players are psychologically right now, they're in a hole, and
Yeah,
this is when you have a whole team that are so low on
yeah,
confidence and in self belief. Um, Everything just becomes lethargic. The effort kind of drops, and so it's tough to watch because
yeah,
you're sitting at home watching it, and you're in the stands watching it and screaming at them like, will you close down?
yeah,
Get a block in, put the effort, because it looks from where we are sitting like just a lack of effort, a lack of desire, um, which is really unforgivable.
yeah,
I mean, uh, you don't need talent for that. That's nothing to do with ability. That's up here. That's players having the right attitude, saying, "I'm going to run out here. I'm going to throw myself in front of this.
yeah,
I'm going to try and get the block in." But once that goes, I mean, there's no wonder you're losing games, because when you lose that kind of mental hunger and desire, you just become easy to play against and easy to score goals on. And that's how we've been for most of the season now, with some exceptions. Um, but that's been the trend all season. And, that's just another thing that Moyes has got to get a handle on. He's got to be as much a psychologist as a coach at this point,
yeah.
just to get these players' heads right.
And I know we're kind of beating a dead horse with this, as everyone knows it. It's every pundit knows it. Every player in the squad knows it. The manager knows it. The fans know it. This team is crying out for reinforcements, and the
Yeah.
board will not provide.
No, it's hard to believe just how much the board are dallying on this. I mean, the situation is quite desperate now.
Yeah,
And this isn't, just a sudden drop in form when we've been going quite well, where you can say, okay, we're in a dip, we'll come through it and we'll get back to kind of win it. This has been going on for a while now. We're in serious trouble. We can't win a game. We've got injuries, and the board are sitting on their hands. It's hard to believe, because I know if I'm chairman of West Ham right now, I will be desperately getting out there trying to reinforce the squad.
I don't care.
Even if it means spending 40, 50 million, you do it.
Yeah. I would not care about negotiating. I would not care about trying to bargain, trying to ask for loan deals. Oh, you want 12 million? Here you go. I mean, that's the kind of mentality we have to have right now. I mean, granted, it shouldn't be just buy any player in the world. It should be ones that we need. But I mean, there's no excuse.
Your targets.
Yeah. I mean, like
our targets should have been in place before the window ever opened, though, Chris.
No,
do you know what I mean? Like clubs who are well run, they know. It's not like you get surprised by the transfer window. You know it's coming. It's coming January. You know, you should have your targets in place. This is a list, and it should be an extensive list of players and their profiles. You know what you're getting. You know why you want them. They've been scouted properly. They've been profiled properly. So you've got your list of players that you like.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're necessarily going in for all of them, but at least you've got a list of your players that have been scouted that you know are good players. And then when January comes around, immediately, 1st of January, you're into it.
Yeah.
You're straight at it, especially in our position where you know you've got to get some players in. Games are passing by. Even like a player that you could have signed on the 5th of January or so, 4th of January, if you get into it straight away, that you end up signing on deadline day. How many games could you have potentially played in that time? 4 or 5?
I think we're.
You know, that can make a massive difference. Yeah, you've got to get your business done.
We know what positions we need to address, not just like central midfielder. We've known that for years, and they still won't cover it. But specifically, the position this year, we've known since probably about October or early November. That is so much time to be able to figure it out. But yet again, this is a club that now only has one scout.
Yeah, look, the dogs in the street know that we need strengthening in midfield, and we need it badly. And it's, like I said, that's been the case for some time. I mean, even before this season, you know, we've all known that's a position that needs strengthening, is that central midfield. And the fact that we still don't have one, you know, is scandalous, really. You know, and the board have to take all the blame for that, because look, I'll guarantee you, David Moyes desperately wants some players in, desperately wants them in. Now he's not going to go on, you know, into a press conference and slate the team or slate the owners because, you know, they just hired him and you know, he doesn't want to rock the boat, doesn't want to lose the job again potentially. So he'll toe the line and he'll say the right things in the press conference and all that. But I'm sure privately, if you were to speak to him man to man, shall we say, privately, I'm sure he's saying, Jesus Christ, why won't they get players in for me?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he needs them badly. And if the board don't go and do that between now and when the window closes, you know, that it will be on them as much as anybody else, just as much as David Moyes, if we get relegated because of it. And it could relegate us, whereas getting in the right players right now could save us. But yet here we are. All we've got is Randolph.
Yeah. So I'm going to read you these two tweets. I screenshotted these and sent them to the guys that I do the podcast with, John and Zach. And this sums up our transfer policy perfectly. West Ham have been offered Nantes defensive midfielder, I'm going to butcher this name, Adelule Torre this month for Traore. I can't get that out. This month for £12.67 million, and this is via Sky Sports. The follow-up, however, Hammers have apparently asked for an initial loan deal. They're literally offering you, and you're like, no, let us have him for just a few months.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty bad when teams can't even give us players. You know, can't even bring them to us and say, look, you can have him. I mean, it's not even that much money. Like I said to you the other day when we spoke, you know, the chairman were due to take 43 million out of the club this month in interest repayments. No, I doubt they're going to do that, given fan feeling at the moment towards the board. But surely you can release that money and say, look, we'll put off these payments. We don't want these payments right now. They can be paid later. We have to prioritize our own survival here and get some players in.
Yeah.
Surely you could release that £43 million and go and sign some players. Now, I don't know much about this Traore fella, this defensive midfielder. I don't know if
I
he's
haven't.
worth signing, but if he is a player that we would have an interest in, David Moyes would have an interest in signing, surely be to Christ we can release 6.5 million to get the guy in. I mean, if we can't pay that and we're going to them saying, can we just loan him instead? We'll give you $1 million for a loan. What's going on, Chris? Like at this club, like with the finances. I mean, that's scarcely believable.
I want to address something that No Side TV actually said. He said the question is, can we even afford the stadium we are in the championship? Apparently, I saw an article earlier or just the other day that if we are to get relegated, our rent and that is just disgusting to say, our rent for our stadium is cut in half. So it
goes down to 1.25 million.
Yeah, and then on top of that, I mean, all of the player salaries get cut. There's a lot of speculation that the owners are preparing for relegation. They're preparing for the drop. But I mean,
it seems to me that not any chairman desperate to avoid relegation would be taking in doing so since the window opened.
Yeah.
We had this Dimitri Payet link the other day that we could get him back for 12.5 million. There's not a hope the board is spending 12.5 million on anybody in this window, but it does make you think if there's any truth to this Payet link. Marseille are in financial difficulty. Sorry?
Moyes actually shut it down.
Did he? Yeah, I was just thinking because maybe Marseille haven't paid us all the money, the 25 million. It might have been the same situation with Randolph, where Middlesbrough still owed us money for him, and we kind of wrote it off, and gave him a few quid on top of it then to get him in. I wondered if Marseille owed us money for Payet, and that's why they were maybe looking at bringing him back in. So.
But so now, kind of looking forward, Wednesday's Liverpool. One thing I was going to mention, or I wanted to mention, I think the reason that we didn't start with Noble, Ogbonna, and Antonio. First of all, I think Ogbonna, he's still injured. Antonio still somewhat recovering. Noble, obviously, is not a spring chicken, so to speak. And so I think they were wanting to rest them for that match, but he saw how desperate we were in need, so he brought them on. I think we're going to limp into Liverpool, not just battered from injuries, but exhausted as well. I hate to say it, I'm saying 7, like seeing 6-7 potentially.
Yeah, I mean our game against Liverpool should have an over 18 rating, because that could be an absolute horror. That could be a real horror film, that one. That depending on Liverpool's attitude, that could get really, really ugly. You feel like Liverpool could probably score whatever they want in that game.
Yeah,
I'm sure Liverpool will come out fast early to go and score some goals. But the question is, when Liverpool go 3 up, 4 up, which they will most likely.
Yeah.
I mean, if they keep their foot on the gas and keep going, at 3 and 4, it could go 6, 7. It could get really, really bad. So we'll just see what Liverpool's attitude is when the game is won, Shay, when they've got 3 goals or so in the bag. I think I don't see any hope of us getting anything out of that game. So I think the bus for 90 minutes and just try to keep the scoreline down as much as possible. possible. But yeah, you just hope goal difference. We need to. We had on the teams around us where our goal difference was a bit better. So know, -3, -3, -4, -5. On Wednesday, then that's gone as well. That advantage is gone.
Yeah. So what I've been seeing on Twitter a lot is I think I would not be surprised if there are more protests planned for this Liverpool match, especially after crashing out of the FA Cup in the way that we have today. If we do go down like 5-6-0, I could see it being as bad as the Berlin protests. I could see some real upset fans. I could see some some shit going down.
Yeah, the atmosphere was not good in there. Today you could hear like the murmurs in the crowd all the time. Every time there was a misplaced pass, which was a lot, you could hear the groans. It was a bad atmosphere in there, and fans are already kind of at the end of their tether with this club now, and yeah, you could see something kick off inside the ground. You wonder if it could come on Wednesday night. No, I think there's also a kind of air of kind of resignation among a lot of fans as well, where they just don't have the energy left to keep doing this, and you just kind of, like me personally, normally like I'd be very angry about all of this time, but mostly what I feel now, Chris, is just a bit numb. I'm just a bit numb to it all, because you can only get angry so many times. You can only kind of get heated so often, and eventually it just wears you down, and you just start kind of becoming resigned to it, and and you just kind of get used to it, and you just don't have fight really. Eventually, it just and I think a lot of fans are starting to feel that way, where they just feel more like walking away rather than ripping up the pitch or the stadium or anything like that. So I think it's hard to know if that fight is even left in a lot of fans.
And that's what I see a lot on Twitter as well. Is a lot of people have commented saying that they are quickly falling out of love with both the club and the game in general because of shit like this. In terms of things kicking off, it's either going to be Liverpool on Wednesday or next Saturday at home to Brighton, because
that's maybe more likely if we're a couple of goals down at home to Brighton. That's more likely.
Yeah.
Fans probably went there pretty much expecting, but yeah, the Brighton game is more likely the one to kick off.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that if we get like things kick off against Liverpool, it's going to be because of that, like it's like a last ditch effort to sign players, because it comes on the 29th, 2 days before the window closes. The reason that I think the Brighton game also is more likely is because it's February 1st, which means the window is shut. And if we lose that, like if our injuries are still piling up, if we have no one in reserve, and if we don't perform against Brighton, it shows that we're done. There's no hope, and I think that it's going to get worse than the Burnley game or the Burnley protests.
Yeah, and the worry now, just as regards trying to pick up points, which we desperately need. Normally we do that thing where we say, well, we have Brighton and we have Southampton, we play Newcastle, this game and that game, they're winnable.
It might as well be Liverpool
At the moment, is any game really winnable for us? I mean,
I know we've played Liverpool twice in the coming weeks, but it feels like every match the rest of the season is going to be going up against Liverpool. Like that, I doubt we're going to win. I don't know how many points we'll get to see the rest of the season. I know that the age-old thing is 40 points and you stay up. Looking at us right now, we're at 23. I logistically cannot see us picking up 17 points the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's entirely possible we don't get to the 40-point target. It really is. We're just so poor. And we saw that again today. It's that team doesn't beat any Premier League teams.
No,
it just doesn't. Like, I mean, Brighton will come to our place. No doubt will outplay us. We'll move the ball around better. Their interplay will be better. Their energy will be better. And they'll score a couple of goals and probably beat us.
Yep.
So, at the moment, as I say, there's no one I back us really with any confidence to go out and beat. And I hate saying that because I'd like to feel like, well, there's hope because, okay, we won't beat Liverpool, but we'll take Brighton at home. We can win that one. But I have no confidence that we can. And I don't think our players do, judging by what we have to watch every game. Like I say, 8 changes for West Brom today, championship team at our place, and they outplayed us right up to the point where they went down to 10 men and decided to sit in and a better team with 8 changes. So do we really think Brighton are going to come there and not do the same? We think we're going to beat Brighton? Southampton's form has taken a huge upturn. We're going to beat Southampton? Not right now.
Newcastle are signing players to help them. Aston Villa are signing players to help.
Even Mike Ashley, who's been a poor owner overall for Newcastle and who fans hate and are constantly criticised, even he realises I've got to go out and sign some players in this window to help Steve Bruce and make sure that we're still in the Premier League next season. Even Mike Ashley is doing things in the window and signing some players to help his manager out. We're just in free fall right now.
Yeah,
it's not just because of the manager. Our owners have got to get their finger out now.
Yeah,
but you just don't trust them to, because they're fanning around Europe talking to all these agents looking for someone they can get in on a loan. It's pathetic. And it's
I've mentioned before that we were looking at this Russian striker, supposedly highly talented, and they wanted, we were offered a chance to loan him, but with an obligation to buy at the end of the season. But the boards that were worried that he wasn't going to be able to adapt to the Premier League because Russians usually can't. So we've brushed that aside. We need players. If it's just a loan, give it a chance. My God.
Yeah, listen, that's just an excuse. It's just an excuse not to sign him, not to spend, have to spend money on the guy. This rubbish, Russians don't usually. Come on, you can't stereotype a whole nation full of people.
Literally millions of people.
Because he's a Russian, he probably won't settle. Like, give me a break. It's all excuses with them. I mean, that's it. Just goes to show you they're shameless, and they know absolutely nothing about football. Nothing.
No.
They might be good. They might be good businessmen. They might be able to sell plenty of product from their stores and run businesses well and make their money. Clearly, they can do that. But if you're running a football club, it kind of helps if you know how to run a football club.
Yeah.
And they are clueless. And this is just more excuse making. They don't want to spend any money. They don't want to be bringing fellas in where they might actually have to buy them in the summer, like this Russian striker. All they want is a loan, and then be able to hand people back at the end of the season and say, "Oh, thanks for that. You can have him back now."
Yeah.
And a lot of clubs don't want to hear that.
Here I got a stat for you and everyone else I just found. It was just posted a few minutes ago. West Ham have been relegated from eliminated from the FA Cup by a side from a lower division in each of the last 3 seasons. The only Premier League club to do so.
Yeah, yeah. We're well. I mean, previously it was because largely because Pellegrini didn't give a damn, really, did he? He had no interest in cups. He didn't care if we got knocked out of them. So right away there, you've really got no chance, have you? And players know that. It's not about the lineup you put out. I know some people say, well, he put quite a strong lineup out against Wimbledon and Oxford, but it doesn't matter what lineup you put out. If the players know, they know what the manager's priorities are. They know how the manager thinks. If the players know he's really not pushed if we go out here tonight, and players aren't going to go out and break, burst their balls trying to get through to the next round. They'll get knocked out, and that's what we saw. Unfortunately, I don't think that's the case with Moyes. I think he would have been very eager to go through today to the next round. The thing is, he's got a group of players there who have got absolutely no self-confidence or self-belief.
Go on.
Yeah, and as I said to you a while ago, that's his biggest problem to me. His biggest problem is he's got to get into those players' heads. He's got to get some confidence back in them, some self-belief, where they feel like they can go out and compete and score some goals and win some games. No amount of talent in the world is going to be much good to you if the players' confidence is completely shot to pieces.
Yeah. And so, moving on with stats as well. Here's two for you as well. So, first of all, this is the first time in 23 years that West Ham have been knocked out of an FA Cup by a lower league side at home. First time in 23 years.
Yeah, it's everything that's going on at the club right now, unfortunately, seems to be just depressing.
And then the other one, you're gonna enjoy this just as much. We have now only won one of our last 9 home matches in all competitions.
Yeah, you've got no chance, have you? Yeah, it's all troubling stuff, Chris.
Remember Pellegrini saying that they cared more about the home matches than the away matches? Yeah, that was a fucking lie.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was stupid anyway.
Yeah.
So that was after an away defeat, and we played poorly. I can't remember who it was again, but he made the excuse. Oh well, it's more important to win your home games anyway, and you concentrate more on winning your home games, which is a pile of rubbish. That was an absolutely stupid thing to say. Really stupid. But look, the home form, your home form needs to be somewhat decent.
Yeah.
You need to pick up a share of points at home to give yourself a chance to have a good season. Your home ground doesn't necessarily have to be an absolute fortress, but it has to be a ground where you don't drop too many points. Nobody's afraid to come to the London Stadium to play us. Nobody. There's nothing intimidating about it. It's this huge stadium with these huge spaces between the edges of the pitch and the stands. It's probably quite a nice place to go and play if you're an away player. And there's nothing about it for our players that makes it really ever feel like home. They don't feel like it's a fortress for them. It's almost like a neutral venue we're playing in. We have our home games, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, you're certainly for away players. There's nothing about it. There's nothing like it was at Upton Park. Certainly, Upton Park, that was West Ham. You knew you were away at West Ham. The fans are right on top of you at the side of the pitch, and it was some great atmospheres there. Not every game, obviously, but there was some great atmospheres could be generated there. And players knew they were away from home when they came to Upton Park. Players don't really feel like that going to London Stadium.
Yeah. So I actually just managed to find it's not the full transcript, but of Moyes' press conference that was held after the match. I'm going to give you some of the highlights here. Moyes said that he could have made more than 3 subs at halftime if allowed. That just says to me that you picked the wrong lineup to begin with.
Yeah, well, I think you didn't have too many options, really. If you look at the bench, there's an argument could have started Antonio. Now, it's hard for me to criticize him too much on that one because I suppose he wants to prioritize making sure Antonio is fully recovered and probably feels he needs him to start more in the Premier League. But it's hard because there's not too many options at this point. I mean, the bench, if you look at it, is really weak. We have a number of key injuries. So it's difficult. His hands are almost tied. So, but I mean, the players that were out there, on paper, it's a strong side, like I say, and they're good enough to beat a team like West Brom. But unfortunately, like I said, the problems really at the moment isn't the personnel we can or can't get on the pitch. It's up here. Their heads are in a very bad place. And that to me now is like I said, is the biggest issue. And Moyes has got to find a way because no matter who we have on the pitch at the moment, doesn't seem to really matter, does it? It doesn't seem to make a huge difference whether it's this player or that player. It still seems to be just very, very difficult for our players out there. Everything is just slow, passes being misplaced left, right, and centre. We can't get shots off a lot of the time, let alone on target. There's just so many things going wrong right now.
I want to give you 2 quotes back to back from Pellegrini. Good God, Moyes. That just really sums up everything. I was disappointed with the opportunities we gave up because we need to be hard to beat.
Well, yeah, thanks, Sherlock. we know that, David. We'd all like us to be hard to beat. That's kind of your job, by the way. That's why you're there. It's what you're being paid to do. Is to make us hard to beat. That's your remit, David. There's no point telling us obvious things like that. We know, and and the players know. So that only comes from what you're doing on the training ground and how you're setting your tactics up, how you're drilling the players, how you're studying opponents. We can't do it for him. We can't do it for Moyes. We can't do it for the players. They've got to go out and do it. So listen, this is what you get from managers all the time and players. Look, we're all sick of these bloody quotes coming out from West Ham account on social media. Players giving it all the usual rubbish. Oh, we have to stick together and we have to regroup and go again and pick it up. And it's like, shut up. I'm sick of hearing it. I don't want to hear it. Yeah. I can talk a good game. I could talk myself into being as good as Messi. But put me on a pitch and you'll find out the reality, because that's the only place where it matters. You've got to stop with this talk. You've got to start delivering it on the pitch. You've got to start putting in the performances.
And then here's another no-duh kind of statement from Moyes here. I didn't want to lose today. I wanted to win today. We're lacking in depth.
Well, slow clap. Slow clap. I wanted to win today. Okay, and so you should. And then address the real problems. I mean, this is all just nothing talk. Doesn't mean anything. It's just empty rubbish. Yeah, we know, David. We all wanted to win today.
We know that we're lacking depth.
Yeah, we know all these things. No, the lacking depth thing is probably a kind of hint upstairs.
He's been doing that for weeks, though, and there's nothing. My guess is that he's doing it to the press to save face, but behind the scenes, he's not stirring anything up.
Well, that's it. That's my point. There's no point sitting in a press conference giving little hints, saying, "Oh, we need some players in," which is essentially what he's saying there. We need to get some players in. Hello, there's an office upstairs. Do you know where you're sitting? If you go upstairs, there's an office with David Sullivan written on the door.
Or David Gold.
Or David Gold. Kick the fucking thing in and sit down with him and say, "Listen, are you watching this? We're depleted. We've got nothing left. I've got kids on the bench. Get some fucking players in, man. What are you doing? You're killing us." He's got to be stronger. If he's not being strong, he's got to get up there with David Sullivan, kick the fucking door in, and tell him to get some fucking players in. Stop by sitting in a press conference stating the obvious.
And the other warning thing too is I didn't realize this. Moyes' backroom staff is still not complete.
Look, it's not surprising, really. Stuart Pearce wanted nothing to do with it. Or rather, they wouldn't let Stuart Pearce back because of a completely innocuous statement he'd made on TalkSport after they'd left the club last time. Where he just said in the whole time, the 7 months they were there, that they actually never saw Karen Brady or David Sullivan, that it was David Gold that would be in the dressing room and on the training ground. Now, that's just a statement of fact. I mean, that's not a major dig at anyone. If David Gold is the person who does that at the club, I mean, he's a chairman too. If he's the person who goes around, meets the coaches and the players and gets into the training ground and dressing room, that's fine. Nobody says David Sullivan and Brady have to do that. So it wasn't like a dig or anything. And then, typical Willie Sullivan gets his knickers in a twist about it and says that Pearce can't come back because he said something mild in an interview. But I'm sure there are other people. I know there was someone else that escapes me now. David Moyes approached him to come back in, but he didn't want to do it. He's in a job at the moment, and he didn't want to take up a position at West Ham, which is fair enough. If he's in a secure job that he likes, then I can't blame him for staying where he is. But it's still a shambles. I'm sure there are other people who are probably being approached and said, actually, pass. Really don't want to work at West Ham. That wouldn't surprise me in the least. I mean, there's not a good reputation there with our board. They don't have a reputation of being good people to work for.
Yeah. And then as an update to what we were talking about earlier, Hammers United, the ones who organized the protests, they actually just said that they are planning a protest for Brighton, basically.
Yeah, well, we knew there were going to be some follow-up protests. And at the moment, and at the moment, you'd imagine there'd be quite a lot more people at the second one than were at the first. It will gain momentum. This result today has gone some way towards ensuring that. And like I say, if we take an absolute hammering against Liverpool, which seems entirely likely,
I would not be shocked because I don't know the Champions League schedule off the top of my head or any sort of competition like that. I would not be shocked if Liverpool played like a seaside against us.
Yeah, well, that would be enough. I mean, Leicester played all of their reserves. Leicester made, I think, 9 changes. They only had 2 starters, I think, from the team that. Yeah, I think did Soyuncu play that game as well, or Johnny Evans?
I think Madison also started in the first half.
Yeah, so Liverpool could rest a number of players and still win the game comfortably.
Yeah.
Like I say, they have had a heavy schedule. Liverpool recently with the World Club Cup. No, I can't remember exactly when Champions League knockout stages start up. But if he wants to, like they had a tough, they got a really tough examination from Wolves. I don't know if you watched that game, but Wolves were really good and were very, very unlucky to lose that game. Wolves gave Liverpool all they could handle in that game.
Yeah.
Well, so they got a really stern examination, So whether or not they'll rest players against us, it wouldn't surprise me. They certainly could, without it being too much of a gamble. Let's be honest.
So I'm looking at Liverpool's schedule here. They face Shrewsbury away tomorrow in the FA Cup. Then they come to West Ham, and then the following next Saturday they play home to Southampton. So they have 3 matches in a week. I guarantee you they will rest players against us.
Yeah, well, they'll make obviously a number of changes for the Shrewsbury game, and they could do the same against us. They could rest a lot of the good few of their better players against us and still win that game, which is something I imagine Klopp would want to do, given the schedule they've had. He probably feels like they need a little rest. So he can rest them against Shrewsbury and against us, and still win both of those games. So and if he does that, and it means we only lose, 3-0, then I suppose from our perspective that would probably be getting off a bit lightly.
Yeah. I just don't know with this team, man. No one takes no one takes us seriously this year, and rightfully so. And that in itself is a damn shame. I mean, for God's sakes, earlier beginning of the season, we were in 3rd place. We were grouped with Leicester and Wolves potentially breaking into the top 3. Right now, you have Wolves at 3rd. Leicester at 3rd. You have Wolves at 6th, and us battling relegation.
Yeah. Again, Chris, look, we have the potential to do all that. We're a big enough club. Yeah, and we should be. There's no
reason we should not be like the likes of Leicester and Wolves.
Yeah, exactly. We're big enough. We're plenty big enough as a club to be doing what Leicester are doing, to be doing what Wolves do.
For God's sakes.
Yeah, I mean, we should never be outside the top 10. Really, we just shouldn't
relegation.
Yeah, but I mean, look, it all circles back around to the same thing. We're just a terribly run club. We really are. It all stems from the very top. And I'm at the point now. I know we have these. You mentioned the protests, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what the protests will achieve. That remains to be seen. Perhaps they'll be able to persuade the board to make some changes within the club. But I'm at the point now, Chris, where I think as long as they are in charge of the club, this is West Ham. This is us. I have absolutely no faith in them.
They have successfully killed a historic club.
Yeah. They're just draining the life out of the club, one drop at a time. And it's a slow, painful process. And I honestly am at the point now, Chris, where I think as long as they're in charge, we've got no chance. We've got no chance. I think the only way this ends, this misery and pain ends, is when they're gone. And then hopefully whoever owns us next will have a clue what they're doing.
So I know that a lot of people have said that they're worried about the way that they're, because it's obvious that if they don't sell it in 2023, that they are passing this on to their children. And I know a lot of people are very anxious and worried about that. For me, if it does end up, you can't, for me, I would not be able to pass the blame of the father to the kids in that regard. But I just pray to God that if that's the case, they run it like an actually properly run club. But
the thing is there, Chris, by the time comes around, 2023 or whatever, if they hand that, they could be handing him over a League One club. And it wouldn't surprise me in the least, because if the worst thing happens and we get relegated this season, which seems entirely likely, these owners are so bad, it's entirely possible that we'd be in trouble in the Championship. Or at least we'd be kind of floating around mid-table or something. I don't see us coming back up. I just don't like.
No.
We could do it's happened to other teams. Other teams happened to Man City. It happened to Leeds. When clubs have bad owners, Sunderland it happened to. When clubs have bad owners, those clubs go into free fall.
Yep.
And it looks to me, I have to say, like we're one of those teams that could go into free fall.
Yeah. So I just looked it up again. They've been the betting odds have been updated for the relegation. Norwich City is given 1 to 14 odds of relegation.
Yeah,
Bournemouth are at 10 to 11. Aston Villa is 1 to 1. West Ham is sitting in fourth at 2 to 1.
Yeah, and that'll change soon again.
That was updated 2 days ago. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that'll change again soon. I can guarantee you. I think one of those teams down there. I think Watford are going to pull themselves out of it.
Watford is tied with us in terms of odds at 2 to 1.
I think Watford are going to be okay. They're showing an awful lot of fight spirit. They're playing much better now under Nigel Pearson, and they're picking up points. They were really unlucky against Villa to lose like that, 94th minute. But I think Watford will be okay. Villa, I think actually will just about scrape clear as well. I think they have enough about them, Villa, that they can play their way out of it.
I think it's going to end up coming down to, because we play Villa the last match of the season. I think that is going to be a winner-take-all match. I think that match is going to be televised globally because the loser of that game will get relegated. I think that's what it's going to come to.
That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. Bournemouth as well are in real trouble.
The only thing for us is that match is at home.
The Villa game is at home, yeah. But it could come down to that, yeah. No question.
I don't see it going any other way. Unless we can somehow pull a run of form against Liverpool, Man City, Liverpool, and then a stretch of Tottenham, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Wolves. Not in that order.
Yeah.
I got that incorrect.
Yeah. Because the thing is, we have a lot of fixtures left that are tough fixtures that you just don't see us getting anything from. But we also have the final 6 games, are against the teams all down there, apart from Man United away.
They're not even that from us either. So.
Yeah, but other than that, I think the rest of them are from teams down around us.
Yeah.
And that will be the crucial period. That I think will be the period where our season is made or broken. So, our next kind of 9 games are tough, and we're going to be down around. I think we'll be in the relegation zone actually, going into the final 6 games. So I think that's what it's going to come down to: how we fare against all of those teams down around where we are. So it's going to be tough,
Bournemouth play home to Villa on next Saturday. If we lose to Liverpool, I think we will, and they win or even draw, we are in the drop zone.
Yeah. So it's inevitable. It's inevitable we're going to drop in there.
19th right now in terms of points. We are only being kept out by goal difference.
Yeah, right now, I don't know if there's a worse team in the league than us right now. We were speaking earlier in the season, and to be fair, I said this myself a bit earlier on in the season, that I felt, even though we were playing badly, that we should be okay because, there would be three worse teams. I don't think we can say that anymore.
Well, Bournemouth actually, at the moment, has the worst run of form. They've lost their last 4 matches.
Yeah, Bournemouth, of course, are in free fall, but my point was that we can no longer say that there are three worse teams.
I mean, it's this season's going to come down to a freaking wire.
It is.
And the thing I want to say too is with these protests, if these protests actually do succeed and they do buy players this window or moving forward, if we somehow stay up and they buy players, these protests have to be every match. We can, like this happened last time. They brought in Pellegrini after the protest and spent over £100 million, and we kind of are like, all right, we're good now. We just got complacent. If we really want long-term success, these protests have to continue and continue.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, I mean, I think the best we can do is, like you say, ratchet up the protests and try to force them to start running the club properly. Force them to put the scouting system in place. Force them to improve the training facilities.
Actually, I saw a report. I will address that really quickly. I know we're running short on time here. I actually saw a report that the reason that the training grounds are as poor as they are is actually because of Slaven Bilic. Apparently, Bilic went to Karen Brady and said was like almost begging her not to turn it into a hotel, like super fancy, super nice, because he said this is training. You don't come here to have fun and enjoy amenities. You are here to train. So I think that's more on Slaven Bilic because.
Well, look, fine if he felt that way, but ultimately he doesn't own the club. Bilic as a manager would say, "Thank you for your opinion, Slav. Take it on board." And then you go out and you build proper training facilities like everybody else does. I'm sure the board were delighted to hear that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We don't have to spend as much money. Hell yeah.
Oh, you want us just to have very basic facilities? That's fucking fine by us, bud. That's not an excuse to me. They should have gone out and built the proper facilities. And we have to try and make them do it, frankly, by protesting, because I don't think we can make them sell up. So that's our only hope, really, is to make them start running the club properly. But it will be difficult. And to be honest, Chris, even if we survive this season, it just feels like even that would just be kind of a stay of execution.
It really feels like if we survive this season, unless they put more than £100 million again and clear the dead wood, then we're dead men walking. We're just staying. We're just trying to keep fighting to stay alive, to stay up when we know we should be down.
Yeah, but I actually don't believe we'll get that stay of execution. I think we're going to go down this season.
I do too. I'm leaning more towards relegation now. Last night I was talking with a friend that he asked like, what do you think? I said, I think it's 60-40 in favor of going down. I think after this match it's more like 70-30. Well, listen though. Yeah. I mean, we've kind of gone over time a little bit here. Just want to thank you for coming on, for joining me again, man.
No problem. I'd like to say it's been fun. It's tough going at the moment talking about West Ham, isn't it? But I apologise for the lighting. I'm actually having to do this in my car and it's dark outside.
Oh yeah, no.
All I've got is the light here in the car, But hopefully you can see me well enough.
All right, well, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for everyone in the chat for participating as always. We look forward to Wednesday against the mighty Liverpool. Hopefully it's not too bad. Hopefully they show some mercy.
Play the children, please, Klopp.
All right, man. Well, as always, for Irish Tommy and myself, come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.